This video is brought to you by John Robson Guitar Tuition. If you enjoy the content, please consider supporting the channel by enrolling on a course, purchasing some guitar lessons or a t-shirt, or you can join my Patreon. Now, on with the show. Hello chaps, welcome once again to John Robson Guitar Tuition. As always, I do hope you're well. That little solo you just heard there is, to my mind, as good an example as you will ever find of something that is simple, not at all technically demanding in any way, but yet beautifully effective, sensitive, soulful, melodic, just the perfect solo for the song. The song in question is called You Do Something To Me, and it's by Paul Weller, and it comes from his 1995 album Stanley Road. Now, I must confess I'm not the world's biggest Paul Weller fan. There was a few tracks that he did back in the days of the Jam that I thought were pretty good. The whole Style Council thing just sort of bypassed me really. It didn't float me boat at all, and that can also be said of much of his solo output. But this album, Stanley Road, for me, it's every artist has one brilliant album in them, and I think this one was his, and this solo is just, I think, as I say, utterly superb for all the reasons I've mentioned. Anyway, enough blethering from me. Let's take a look and see what makes the solo tick. Okay then, as always, we'd better take a look at the chord sequence to see what we're playing over. It basically goes like this. And as soon as it hits that C7 chord, the vocals come back in and we're off into the next section of the song. The solo itself is played over that chord sequence, which is very much centred around E minor as a tonality. So it's no surprise to learn that we're using E minor pentatonic to play the solo with. No extra notes added in, no modal shenanigans, nothing like that, just plain old E minor pentatonic. Basically this little bit of position 1 and a little bit of a jaunt up into that part of position 2. And the thing that makes this solo work so brilliantly well is nothing to do with note choices other than obviously using the correct pentatonic scale. Usually in a solo that is so effective as this, you're going to find that, oh well, we're landing on this note because it's in that chord, kind of chord note targeting. And there's a little bit of that going on here, but it's, to my mind, it's more just down to the law of averages, because sometimes he is ending a phrase or resolving a phrase onto a chord note, and other times he isn't. You can, you can find just as many examples of a phrase, prioritizing a note that isn't in the chord here, as there are phrases which prioritize a note that is in the chord. What makes this work is purely and simply the phrasing. It's about having an instinct for knowing when to play a phrase and when to end a phrase. And put simply, what's going on here is that most, if not all, of the phrases in this solo begin towards the end of the bar. Either on the and of beat 3 or on beat 4 itself, and then conclude on beat 1 of the bar, or maybe just slightly after beat 1 of the bar. So you're kind of starting in the end of the bar and then concluding in the beginning of the next bar. So for instance this. That phrase there, that note, that A note that he's landing on there, just lands on square on beat 1 of the bar. So all of this part of the phrase is happening at the end of the previous bar, and then the phrase concludes on that note at the beginning of the bar where it starts. Another one, a bit more long-winded this one. Let me see if I can read the tab from this distance. There we go. So what's going on there? Well, all of this is in the back end of the bar where it starts. It's actually starting just after beat 2, and then we get all of that run like that, and then at the beginning of the next bar we get, so you've got a phrase which is beginning in one bar and concluding in the next one. Here it is again. There we go. Now the next phrase which comes after it again is a really short one. There's only 3 notes in it. It goes, so all of this is in one bar, and that final note there is at the beginning of the next bar, and it goes on and on and on throughout the solo like that. A phrase begins, towards the halfway point or just after a particular bar, and then concludes at the beginning of the next bar. It's a brilliantly simple and effective way of making the whole thing sound joined up for some reason. It just works. So that's, if you learn nothing else from this solo, that's a great little tip. Just try and develop the instinct, working with a metronome or a drum track or something, of beginning a phrase in one bar and concluding it in the next bar. The instinct a lot of the time for people who are relatively new to playing lead guitar is to get the count in 1, 2, 3, 4 and then start, because that's what you tend to do as a chord player. As a rhythm guitarist, you start on beat 1 of the first bar of the song or whatever. As a lead guitarist, it's much more useful to you to, as I say, develop that instinct of beginning slightly ahead of beat 1 and then concluding on beat 1. Taking that first lick as an example. Okay, basically that final note in the lick there, try practicing licks like that. Just, you could do it like that, or, and whatever the final note is in your lick, try timing that so that it lands on beat 1 of the bar rather than beginning on beat 1 of the bar. So your lick ends on beat 1 rather than begins on it. And it's, as I say, a large part of what makes this solo such a simple, sensitive, soulful and brilliantly effective solo. So have a go at it, and whatever you do, have fun. And there is, of course, a full tab in both Guitar Pro and PDF formats, along with a clip of me demonstrating the solo and that one that you've just seen there of me explaining it, and a backing track to play along with. All of that is up on my Patreon page. There's the address, link in the description. It's only $3 a month, and you get all of these extra resources that go along with these little YouTube lessons that I put up. Thank you so much to everyone who supports me in that manner or any of the other ways. All the links are in the description. Thank you so much to each and every one of you, and thank you in advance if you're thinking about doing it. Don't forget the live stream on Friday. I know it's only Monday, but we need something to look forward to, don't we? If you don't know about the live stream, I'm sure you do, but I'm getting new subscribers all the time. I'll just mention it. Basically, every Friday, 5 PM UK time, we sit and have a beer and a chat, and just basically a bunch of mainly grumpy middle-aged old blokes like me sitting and talking about grumpy middle-aged old bloke kind of concerns whilst having a beer. What's not to like about that? It's a fantastic way to kick off the weekend. I'd love to see you there if you can make it. But that is pretty much it for today, folks. I hope you've enjoyed the video and found it useful and informative, and if you have, please hit the subscribe button and the notification bell if you haven't already done so, and why not give me a like while you're at it. But for now, I'll bid you all a good day and say thank you so much for watching. Thank you for your time. Look after yourselves, folks. Stay well, stay safe, and above all, stay sane. Bye for now.